Welcome to the Diverse Minds podcast, where we give you the tips, tools and techniques you need to be a mentally healthy and inclusive leader. Each week, you'll hear about a variety of topics linked to mental health, well-being and diversity that will enhance both your professional practice and personal well-being. Welcome to the 173rd episode of the award-winning Diverse Minds podcast. And this month's theme is all about intersectionality and disability, with a variety of guests who have varying experiences and perspectives. And this week, I am joined by Akwayomi Claude Garnett Akinsanya. Claude identifies as a 24-year-old neurodivergent Black British male who has managed epilepsy. He was born and brought up and has lived in Britain his whole life and currently resides in Richmond. He's the creator of the awareness fashion line for the Claude's SEN, SEN law campaign that was launched in 2020 from the initial campaign developed in 2015. His non-profit clothing brand is all about gaining awareness of Claude's SEN law. Claude wants to pass this SEN law. His campaign invites the government to investigate the curricular approach to special needs education and also the wider educational and employment opportunities afforded to SEN individuals. He's published 4 books at the age of 23 while being denied an education from 2017 due to his hidden disabilities, and also the colour of his skin as a young Black male individual who is changing the narrative for an inclusive and diverse world through equal opportunities. He has created the Safe Space Tuesday afternoon tea event, which is all about mental health awareness for individuals who require a safe space to talk while drinking tea online, whether that's Twitter Space or Zoom. And it's all about creating an environment where inclusive and equal world for neurodiverse people with hidden, visible and invisible disabilities, and is all about putting Claude's SEN law at the heart. So Claude, a huge welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I've just told the listeners a little bit about you from your bio, but I think it'd be really useful for listeners to know a little bit more about Claude's SEN or SEN law and what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, sure. So the Claude's SEN law was created because, as I found, there's been a massive low efficient acknowledgement in regards to neurodiversity and hidden disabilities. And there is a massive education in this area where there needs to be kind of inclusion and also the understanding of delivery. From my own experience of being discriminated because of the colour of my skin and my own hidden disability.
And so what do you want to achieve with this law? What changes do you want to make? Because I know some of it's about the curricula and seeing that changed. So if you could wake up tomorrow morning and the law was in place, what would that look like?
It would look like where you have more variety of subjects considered, the importance of awareness for neurodiversity and inclusion, and even the importance of diversity within, jobs and within the areas where people should be given equal opportunities. For myself, who if I want to be aspirated person in travel, I would have challenges because of the colour of my skin, and those barriers shouldn't really be a factor of life, and everyone should be able to achieve their goals. So I think, we need to make the environment more understanding, and I think the importance of even giving a degree where, someone can understand about the qualities which we have to offer, and the importance of qualified teachers and a new education system with a new narrative.
Yeah, thank you. So it's that intersectionality piece, isn't it, around understanding barriers, removing barriers, understanding colonisation, decolonising. And we know that when we make those changes for a particular group of people, it actually seems to benefit everyone.
And what I also see is that there's this big issue where the investment's not going into education and unfortunately going into other areas. So, we need that kind of, I think, the importance of transparency as well, and the importance of, investing and not just kind of running a system or an area of a system into the ground and not really putting proper resources into it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what was your journey then, Claude, to becoming a campaigner? How did you, I know it started in 2015 and then you relaunched with the fashion line in 2020. How did you become a campaigner?
Yeah, so I started small projects and looked at kind of, you could say, initiatives within small actions, like signing petitions, these kind of wonderful platforms like Global Citizen, global change makers. And they're giving me the kind of understanding of how to become a campaigner. And then along the way, while I was doing this, while I was studying, I finished my college education in 2017, knew that I needed to continue in further education. But this is where my continuation in education did not continue. And I was left high and dry. It was a plan that I was supposed to go to higher education, but within myself, I knew I didn't have the grades. And I weren't really supported in that factor of me going to further education. And this is where my funding stopped, my benefits were stripped away from me. At the age of 18, I faced having to sofa surf and currently live with my parents, and have that factor where I've not really been supported, and thought, right, I need to go back to the drawing board, see what these issues are, and created the Clause SEN law while having this small brand that I had of clothing, but decided to make T-shirts that have the name of the campaign to bring awareness. And this is where all the innovation and ideas got created after it, to where I am today.
Thank you for sharing that, Claude. And I can't imagine being in that situation, and then you have created this amazing campaign and a non-for-profit clothing line. How have you had the energy and the mental strength to do that? And I don't mean that in a patronizing way. I think it's pretty remarkable.
Well, thank you so much. It's not been easy. My mental health has really kind of gone on a roller coaster. And I could say that I don't think mental health is discussed as much as it could be in society. We have a lack of investment within that area. And I think, there is that factor that it's only individuals who've made these initiatives to be able to be a wonderful support hub along the way. So within my own journey, I found some wonderful networks that have been able to have the same vision and be able to kind of give me that guidance when required. And my mum's been amazing as well. And I think, our parents and our families have to be given more credit, especially in society, because it's the systems that are not really, you could say, careable or either acknowledgeable to individuals. It's only the kind of, ones that may be special within our family who supported us, or small networks that may have that understanding of supporting an individual, because there's always two sides of the story. But yes, it's been a roller coaster for my mental health, but I started to realize all the things that I've done after, and yeah, it's been quite remarkable, and I'm just really glad to see others sharing their story, because that's so important.
Yeah, and I know you give people, share your stories, a hashtag you use on your social media platforms, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so going back to this term, thank you for being so open about your mental health and the journey that you've been on. And we know that it's very unlikely that someone's going to have optimum mental health every single day of their life. But of course, if these barriers are in people's way and you can't succeed in the way that you can, that's of course going to impact mental health and well-being. But what about the term neurodiverse and neurodivergent? So I'll often use neurodivergent to mean neurodivergent individuals, and neurodiverse to include everyone, because everyone's slightly different. But what do those terms mean to you?
It means signature uniqueness. It's the hashtag that I kind of thought that really fits the term perfectly, because we are individuals who have unique abilities, but it's our own signature personality that makes us who we are. And at first, it was a learning lesson for myself of what neurodivergent is, but I really enhanced it within my years of growing up, and really loved the abilities that I have, because we learn in a different way, but we learn in a creative way. We don't kind of learn in a kind of academic or structured way, and that is the superpower that we have. And that's what I could sum it up, is its signature uniqueness, because we have unique ability.
Yeah, thank you, Claude. I think, yeah, absolutely. I can totally, that resonates with the work that I do with neurodivergent individuals as well. And then going back to mental ill health and culture, and you've talked about discrimination you face due to the colour of your skin. You've been really open about that. What do you think the biggest challenges are for neurodivergent individuals and neurodivergent individuals from Black, global majority and diaspora backgrounds in accessing support? So obviously you have your own lived experience, which was incredibly tough, and it's not like it's, done a 360 and it's perfect now. But what do you see from the people that you work with and support, and the work that you do are the biggest barriers to accessing support?
I think the bigger barriers are, I think other individuals are scared of that potential and scared of the potential of how wonderful individuals in the Black community could either, excel and I think be able to kind of do well. And I think, we need to I think that, well, it all starts from education, first and foremost. And what I see is we have a lack of kind of acknowledgement of our education system being quality of education. And I think, from the time we have transparency, which can enable investment to go into education, that will be a starting point to understanding of delivery, because what it's been years of kind of non-delivery, which brings untransparency, because certain things that are required to be delivered or be done hasn't been. And I think there's that factor where we have a lot of division when togetherness and love is a key element. And I think also jealousy is also another aspect that causes these divisions. And the kind of what others get differently treated to others in like social class, within identity. And I think, we've had a society that's made a lot of kind of confusions of topics when it's one simple thing of this people being together. And, I think music and important things that bring people together is such a powerful thing.
It's very interesting to hear you talk about jealousy, actually, and people not wanting people within their community to reach their potential. So I'd never thought of it from that perspective. Actually, it's quite enlightening for me to hear you say that, because for me, I always think it's that services aren't designed for global majority Black diaspora communities. It's always seen from a very Eurocentric white lens, or that we don't have enough SENCOs, or SENCOs are trained maybe in one area of neurodivergence and not the whole spectrum to the level they could be, or that everything falls on the SENCO and nothing is integrated into day-to-day learning, for example. So it's very interesting to hear you say that, because in my mind, it's a lot more maybe of the systemic things, but I don't know what your thoughts are about that.
You know what? As I was saying, I think that is another element as well. But this is where I think, it's been like a convenience of many shortfalls which have brought a confusion, when basically what you've also just said to what I've just said are equally factors as well of the issues as well, because most SENCOs won't listen to families, especially if there are families of different heritage. They feel that, they may have a lack of understanding, when that isn't the case. All human beings are human beings. And, all of us don't have a different learning or different understanding. We are all human beings. We all have blood. We all have the same, ears and noses. So, I think there is a factor of both factors. And I think, this is where education is such an important factor, and not many have that opportunity of understanding about different religions, different heritages, and the kind of ability of understanding about neurodiversity, because there are a big percentage, which I was shocked, that are only just learning now and being quite enlightened by what I've got to share and what I've been informing my community with.
Yeah, that whole assumption about who's going to be a better parent to their neurodivergent child, right? I think that's a very poignant point that you just made, and all the assumptions around that. Yes, because I don't I don't think it is that one size fits all, right? Because you've got being neurodivergent, then you've got how you're seen, you've got barriers and how you're accepted in different contexts, and that all will play a part of your neurodivergent experience. I hope people are listening and they're thinking, right, okay, I really want to get involved in this. How can people be part of the campaign? What kinds of things that can they do to join you, Claude?
Well, they can reach out to me on Instagram. You can reach out on, I think it's A_Claude_2020. You can also reach out to me on Twitter or any of the social media handles as well. And also I have a website, but you can find it easy to access through the hashtag Claude SEN Law.
I was just going to say, I will, of course, include all of those links on the show notes so people can access them there, because I know you've given me a really helpful list on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. So yes, I will absolutely include those in the show notes. And are there petitions? How would you like people to get involved in what you do?
Sure. So yeah, do feel free. Any individuals, I think, who are in the UK can feel free to add their signature. It doesn't take long. All you have to do is visit the change.org petition, and it's called the Claude SEN Law. And you're able to sign the petition, then you'll be able to share it and spread the word. And once you've done that, you can repost it as well on your socials with the hashtag Claude SEN Law and the hashtag Signature Uniqueness.
Brilliant, thank you. And you talked about your mental health and, you know, your mental health being a roller coaster ride. So how do you, Claude, with everything that you do, and you do so much, how do you look after your own mental health? What are your top 3 tips?
My top 3 tips would be music. It's a lifeline. I think, you know, the ability of music is so wonderful, so creative. But yeah, music, meditation. Also, I like to draw, and I like to also write. At the moment, I've wrote about 4 books about my own personal journey. Currently, I'm writing my 5th book. Been using a lot of Grammarly and also tools that would help with my kind of, word processing and also my writing to make sure that I don't have any spelling mistakes, because that is a factor of being a neurodiverse individual. But yeah, I love to write. Learned how to write quite late in my life, but it's been a wonderful gift to learn because of my wonderful experience at secondary education, which was taught by my mum. And yeah, I got a lot of thanks to thank her for that. But yeah, writing, and I love music and meditation.
Brilliant. And finally, as well, if employers are listening to this and they're thinking, right, okay, what kinds of things should we be offering for neurodivergent people and communities, or whether it's jobs or whether it's opportunities, you know, what would you say? What should workplaces be doing? Because I know part of your campaign is around diversity of careers and people having options who would be identified as SEN.
Yeah, I think one-to-one, and making sure that your content which you are promoting or either asking a neurodivergent to produce is appropriate for their type of learning. So like blended learning is such an important factor to have part of a work environment or even an education environment. And I think the importance that, you know, we are different learners, because there's visual learners, there's also audio learners, there's even people that like to kind of have a break and not kind of have too much full on of information being taken in. So yeah, I think being adaptable, always asking the person as well what suits them and how they would feel the work would be easily intake for them, and always making sure that it's adaptable. And I think even the same for disability, making sure that your work environment is accessible, making sure that you even have braille writing for visual impaired individuals. There's so many factors, but I think those are the main key things which I've just said are important elements to have in mind as a work placement.
Thank you so much, Claude. And if you're interested more in neurodivergence and neurodiversity, do check out episodes with Janet Morgan on race, neurodiversity and culture, and also Janet Beetham about working with dyslexic adults in the workplace. And so, Claude, thank you so much for being so open, honest, sharing your tips. Please do get in touch with Claude. The list of his contacts are in the show notes and on the campaign. Buy a t-shirt, let your workplace know. And we just thank you so much. Hashtag the Claude's SEN Law. Do check it out. And thank you so much for all that you're doing.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been a pleasure here. And we'll see you in the next episode, everyone. Until then, take care.
Thanks for listening to the Diverse Minds podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you access your podcasts from. You can also connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Tune into next week's episode of the podcast, where I'll bring you more insights on mental health and inclusion. Bye for now.